Hello, everyone, and welcome to this conversation presented by White House Custom Color.
Are you trying to mute me? No, it's just real loud, and I can't.
I sold Amazon, but it was $25.
Listening to listen, not listening to respond.
Yes! Oh, thank you for that. Ange and I had a blast last week.
I loved listening to your podcast.
I mean...
Yesterday, like I listened to yesterday to you and her, and I was like, "Oh, this is awesome."
She's a lot of fun, and I knew you would be too. That's why I asked you guys. I was being serious. I thought maybe you thought I wasn't being serious, but I was.
A little bit not serious, but yeah, I like to chat about stuff. So.
Well, you sent me a serious topic. I mean, at least for me it is. And it's I think it's interesting that you sent that because it hits home for me personally. People might not know that or realize that, but it does. So before we get into that though, I want you to introduce yourself and tell me all about yourself.
Okay. I'm Jaimy Ellis, and I run an on-location only senior portrait business in the Iowa City, Iowa area. So everything I do is on location. I go to my clients' homes and their sessions happen kind of all custom depending on what they want to do and what their style is like. And yeah.
And then sales too that way? Like everything. I mean, do you go back and do sales and everything like always at their house?
Yes. So I start out with a styling consultation before their session to plan outfits and locations. And then at that point, I'm already selling. So I sit down with my products. I take all my product samples to their home on their consultation day. And I'm looking at their home decor, making suggestions, taking pictures of walls.
So you're familiarizing yourself with the space before you even take a shot.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. And their style.
Which has to be helpful. Like you're getting to know them in that way and their space.
Yes. And I would say most of my clients don't hang large wall portraits in their homes. Mm-hmm. And I have found that really interesting because like I come from a house where my mom hangs photos and large wall portraits everywhere.
They're all over the place.
So, so it's changed how I sell, and I don't actually sell a lot of wall portraits because they would rather have an album or something like that.
Do you gravitate towards albums? That's what I was going to ask.
Oh, for sure. I sell an album or a book with almost every session.
It's kind of like your thing, maybe.
Yeah, I would say so.
Like people, your clients come in expecting in their minds, they've probably seen other albums. So they come in expecting like, that's one of the things I'm going to get, if not the main thing that I'm here for. Because then in my experience, again, I'm not a photographer, but I feel like I know a lot about it. You shoot for that, right?
Yeah, kind of. I don't do a lot of like small detail type shots during their session, just because people haven't seemed to really want that. And when I'm designing the album, I don't feel like I want to have a close-up of shoes for a wedding, it makes sense. But for a senior, maybe not so much. I always like those kind of shots, but they don't really do anything to help the sale, I've found. And I'm so into photographing that person's face that like, I like to connect with them through the lens, and I tend to forget to do like detail-y album-y shots, but I do storytelling things like a
That's
series
what I was going to get
to.
What's the storytelling piece? Because the detail shots I get, and I agree it seems to me that's more of a wedding thing. But if you're shooting for an album or a book, the story piece, right, is something that's got to be in the back of your mind, maybe in the front of your mind.
Yeah. So a lot of times I'm helping people pick out their outfits at the consultation. Like they might lay out a series and I'm helping them narrow it down. Or I even will go in their closets and be like, what about this? Have you thought about this? Or why don't you add a jacket or something? So I'm making sure that all of their outfits, although different in style, have a cohesive kind of color theme or tone. And then that way it looks really good in an album. And then during the session, I'm also doing things like walk towards me and throw this hat at me, or toss this big pile of leaves in the air, or something like that, that can make a series of photos that go kind of cool in an album. So like they wouldn't really purchase one where their hair is covering their face because they're spinning around, but in an album it makes sense.
No, yeah, right. I get it. It makes sense as part of the story.
Yeah.
Well, all right. Let's get to it, because this is you and Ange. I talked to Ange last week, and you and Ange both picked these really big, meaningful topics that both resonated with me. And so I wanted to have a little small talk first, because I do that to gear myself up and make myself feel comfortable.
I felt pressure to like pick a cool topic, and then
you
actually
really?
like kind of, like I was like, I don't want to be boring and just be like, oh, I photograph seniors. I don't know. So anyway, then you kind of messaged me, and then when you messaged me marketing, then I was like, oh, I have an idea. So
because this is right. We weren't going to talk about marketing in general, but that silo, and this does fit in there, and I like how it fits in there. So here it is. It's promoting positive body image is how you put it, right? Yes. So first of all, let me just let you talk about that, because I've heard different people talk about it over the years. My ears always perk up because it does apply to me. You unpack that a little bit, and what does that mean to you?
Well, I'm going to start with saying about myself that I have always been a very confident person, and I don't know why. I'm assuming it has something to do with my parents and all that, but I just have not very often struggled in my life with feeling confident about myself until I had babies.
Oh, really?
And it changed my body a lot. Okay. And then I started to not like my body and feel very self-confident or insecure about different parts of myself that I didn't before. And then that opened a little window in my brain thinking, I think a lot more people have this feeling than I'm realizing, because I have not dealt with that before. And then I started to think about how prevalent social media is in young people's lives now, and how easy it is to compare yourself on social media. And where do I find all my clients? It's on social media. So therefore, it's like I felt like I had this realization that I needed to use my business as a platform to talk about these things openly. And I just felt like I identify with the younger generations a little bit easier than I do with older. And so I kind of felt like it was important to be open about talking to yourself and viewing yourself in a positive way, whether or not you're a size 2 or a size 16.
Right.
And so that's kind of where it stemmed from. And then I kind of I've always liked to photograph seniors, because ever since I started photographing seniors almost 20 years ago, I've had moms come to me and say they felt awesome at their session. I can't believe how their self-confidence has changed. They left the session just feeling amazing about themselves. They were smiling for the whole week. And then I thought, this is a little bit more than just getting cool photos. This is more about changing how somebody can view themselves.
How do you approach that? Like initially, right? When you get to meet somebody and you get to know them, like maybe initially, right? You have to sense that at some point, right? Like how do you kind of get into that at the beginning?
So I feel like I'm pretty good at leading by example through different aspects of my life. So I just try to do that on my social media and just be really authentic about myself and lead through example. So I get on my Instagram stories and post videos and stuff of myself with no makeup and zits covering my face. Like I'm 37 years old and I have acne.
Right.
And I feel like I don't have to really say that outright. I can just do that.
Right.
And if somebody sees me talking about some random something with confidence, even though I have a big pimple on my nose, hopefully that makes them feel a little bit more
at ease,
open to, not feeling like they have to wear a full face of makeup all the time, or that they can go out without, they know it's okay to have acne. People have that.
Because I feel like the other piece, because of social media these days, especially those of us that are active on it and people that are using it both directly and indirectly as a marketing tool for seniors in particular, don't you think that they more than ever, they kind of know who you are or have a good sense of who you are, because they're vetting, right? They're looking around. And they have, if you're using it effectively, like you do, they have a good idea of who you are. And so that rapport is already halfway there to some extent before you even sit down with them.
Yeah, I would say that most of the people that hire me, so senior photography is interesting because on a marketing standpoint, because you're not really in it to retain. Like I have return customers that are, their younger sibling or whatever. And then maybe when they're adults, when their seniors are grown, they might call me and have a family session, but I don't market families or anything.
Right.
I'll book that, but I'm not out to book.
You're not trying to, like you're trying to focus on seniors for the most part.
So with that being said, most of my seniors that book me have been following me since they were maybe in junior high or freshman, sophomore. So they've been following along and they've been watching the behind the scenes and they've been seeing me. I get pretty authentic, I think, on my stories and stuff. And they feel like they know me, I think, already times before we even meet.
And so how does the positive body image piece manifest like during the shoot itself, right?
Oh man. So I do all the posing for people. So I am a better shower than I am a teller. So I show the people their poses, so I'm the one doing it, which I think helps them feel a little bit better about it because they're seeing me not care how I look while I'm showing them this pose that probably looks really ridiculous on me. But I am trying to make them just feel amazing. So I'm excited about their images. So as I'm shooting, I'm constantly talking the whole time, saying things like, oh my gosh, this shot is amazing. Or I'll look through the, at the back of the camera, show them a few and be like, oh, look at this one. Or I don't know. I'm just constantly, and that's just out of my nature. It's not like I'm consciously doing that. It's just something that I naturally do during the session. And I'm telling them how amazing they look. And, I don't know. I just try to get to know them during the session as well. So I'm asking them what they want to do after high school, what their favorite thing is to do outside of school. I'm just trying to constantly learn about them. And
have you found that it doesn't take that much?
It's very easy for me.
Well, I know I get that it's very easy for you, but and at the same time, I know that it's very difficult for other people. But wouldn't you say to somebody that finds it very difficult or is scared that it's not a lot? It doesn't take gushing and over it's really just more like paying attention to or listening to or just giving a nice little affirmation or a little comment, right? Don't you think?
Yes. And one of the things too that you just mentioned that brought up a idea in my head is I do try to make sure that the senior has a voice about what their photos will look like or what outfits they wear.
Good.
I can immediately tell when I walk into somebody's consultation that mom has picked out all the outfits.
For real.
immediately. Like I know right away that they don't really love some of the outfits, and then
which is going to come through.
Yes.
Right.
But at that point, that's when I'm like, so like, what's your favorite thing to wear? Or I'm trying to figure out like what they really like to wear or what they feel the most comfortable in, even if it's a weird, ugly hoodie or I don't know, so I'm trying to get them to open up to me about what they really like. And so they can feel comfortable before we even start photographing.
Does that usually go smooth? I mean, do you ever run into because sometimes I think with the positive body image thing in particular, you might run into, because this also happened to me and my grandmother was involved when I had my senior pictures done. She wanted me to wear certain clothes and look a certain way. I didn't even wear my own clothes. They weren't even mine. And I love my grandmother, love her to death. One of my favorite people in the world. However, she picked out my clothes because she didn't want me wearing what I wore all the time.
Right.
So do you ever, when you're navigating that piece, can that be challenging sometimes?
It can be, but I feel like most of the people who are hiring me, are open to that and they trust me based on my work.
Yeah.
One story that comes to mind as you're talking about that is a senior mom that I had a few years ago of a boy. So this happens a lot with guys, less so often with girls, but I walked into the house and he had like, khakis and a flannel button-up shirt, and he just didn't seem like he was excited about the process at all. And just didn't, a lot of guys are kind of like, I'm just kind of doing this for my mom, which is awesome of them to even do. But
sure.
The minute that I asked him like what his ultimate favorite thing to wear was, he like ran up to his room, got this Cubs jersey out and this old ratty Cubs hat, and he brought it down. And I was like, that you have to wear that.
Yeah.
And then we did his photos, and those were the favorite photos of the session with the senior and the mom.
Yeah.
And so
even the mom,
her,
right?
Yeah.
Because she sees him. Yeah.
Yes. So she saw her excitement.
Yes. Yes.
And I photographed her daughter this year. And at that session, she brought up that story again. And she was like, you know what? I just said, when you went and did that and had him get that thing, I was just like, I'm just going to shut up and like step back. So it does. I think people trust me, first of all, because they've seen my work and they like my work already. But then I think since I'm trying so hard to connect with their child on a different level, I think they there's not really there's no fight. Like they just trust me, I think.
Well, you have that trust piece. And part of it is because you have the experience and you're known and you have a brand, right? For people that aren't at that stage in their career, let's say it's somebody that's just started or somebody that's only a few years in, what do you say to somebody like that doesn't have that trust or doesn't have that brand, coming into the same situation when they want to kind of do the same things that you're doing and promote that positivity, but they don't have that piece where everyone trusts them on the other side?
Sure. I would say my strongest aspects about my personality naturally are what I already mentioned, which is confidence and authenticity, and honesty. So I am just really authentic all the time. So I am genuinely excited about their clothes, and I'm genuinely excited about their session, and no matter who it is. And I just try to convey that, like, oh my gosh, I'm so excited, or I don't know. It's just kind of my personality. But I would say even if you're a little bit more reserved or a little bit more introverted or whatever that is, shy maybe, just being authentic says a lot. Like even if it's a calm, like, I can't wait for your session tomorrow or whatever, if it's genuine, people are going to know.
Yeah, those little things. Yeah, right. Those little authentic things. I like that.
Yeah. And I think being confident while you're shooting makes a big difference as well.
And what does that look like? Help me with that piece. Like, what does being confident during the shoot look like?
So I feel like I've seen in the past photographers feeling like maybe they're struggling to get the person to do a pose that they want them to do, or they're having trouble having like the subject isn't opening up to them or something, and they kind of will pause and they'll, maybe we should do this, or I don't know, try this.
Right.
I don't do that at all. Like if I'm internally struggling in my brain, like, oh man, I'm really having a hard time getting them to open up to me or something, I just keep moving. Like you just keep going. Yeah, that's awesome.
You just keep trying new things.
So,
yep.
Yeah. And so I always know when I have a trickier session because I have a lot more images of that person.
Right.
Because I feel like I'm overcompensating maybe, but they don't know.
No.
I just kind of keep going and keep trying to make them feel like it's awesome, even though I'm struggling internally. And I don't do that. I don't have that feeling as often anymore as I used to, but I guess I kind of fake it until I make it in a short-term situation. I don't really love that saying, but
fake it until you make it.
Kind of, yeah, I don't.
It's the opposite of being authentic.
That I say a lot, but I don't want them to feel like I don't know what I'm doing.
Yeah, yeah. Well, and honestly, it's not, to me, the difference, because I get what you're saying. It seems as though there's a break between being authentic and faking it until you make it. However, I think it comes down to motive, right? I think you can fake it until you make it for yourself to be selfish, but I also think you can fake it and play the game, so to speak, for the benefit of others. And I believe that that's still authentic. You know, that maybe it sounds like a contradiction, but I don't think it is. There's the motive piece that if you're doing it for the benefit of somebody else, I don't think that's inauthentic.
Here's the other thing too, is I never want my senior to feel like they are doing something wrong.
Yeah.
Because no person really, unless you're a professional model, should go in front of a camera feeling like you know what you're doing and feeling comfortable. That's my job, is to make them feel comfortable. So if I'm looking like I am not sure what to do, or I'm struggling, then they have a feeling like, crap, I'm doing something wrong, or I'm not good at this, or I'm not photogenic, or I look bad. You know, like they put it on themselves, and that is 100% not the truth. If I'm struggling, it's something that I'm struggling with, and it's not them. I never ever want somebody to feel like they are doing bad.
Do you think that you saying that makes me wonder? You've said you've been doing a couple decades, you've been doing this. And so you've seen,
almost, yeah.
Right. You've seen that the arc over the course of 20 years. Do you think that those issues, and we'll call them lack of confidence, or the body images, negative body images, do you think that those issues have gotten significantly worse or more challenging over your career? Like what you've seen with your clients and the seniors themselves?
I want to say yes, but I'm also more open to noticing that now.
Right.
Than I was as a younger person.
You're more open to it yourself.
To it.
You're more sensitive to it, right? So it's a combination too.
Yeah. And I will have people during their session, especially girls, will say like, I don't like this about myself, or I don't like my arms, or I look ugly, or whatever. And if somebody ever says that to me, I'm like, you don't talk like that about yourself. Like I'll look them straight in the eye and be like, you are not that. And I don't want to hear you say that again during the session. And then we kind of like laugh it off and keep going. Right. But like, I am if I hear something like that, I'm like, don't talk about yourself like that. Like I nip it in the bud right away.
Okay.
I just am very like, you don't have to worry about that.
Right.
So,
right.
You know, and then I also do retouching, which is a whole nother ethics conversation.
Okay. That was actually, it is. And I want to touch on that briefly, because that's what I used to do all the time. And I understand it. And my whole, and I wonder if this is your philosophy, what I tried to do was nothing that was over the top unless it was specifically asked for by the client. But my whole goal was to try to do whatever I did and have the client not even really understand that I did that.
Yeah, that's my goal.
Right? So it's sometimes it's subtle, sometimes it's a little more, but if you do a few things here and there, on the whole, it can make a pretty big difference. And yet it's not like, oh, you cinched my waist in and made me a 2 from a 14 or whatever it was, right?
The other thing too is people don't see a lot of their body most of the time. Like,
right.
You don't see this part, like, unless you're posing like I've just posed you in a mirror, you aren't seeing this part of your body. So like, I don't know. I'm pretty sensitive to that. And I feel like I'm pretty good at knowing what's too much and what isn't. Right. But I do have a lot of people that tell me that they chose me because the people in the photographs look real.
They look real.
They look like themselves.
Right.
And they look in the photo like they feel like themselves. And there's a big uptick right now in the world of professional hair up for every single session included, style closets, which are all cool. Some of my sessions have professional hair and makeup, but I would say over 60 to 70% of them don't. And
did you say style closets?
Yeah, like when the photographer has a whole closet
oh, yes.
So I don't want to say anything bad, but that is weird for me. So, because of the whole authenticity thing,
right?
Like I want them to take ownership in choosing their outfits. I send out a magazine ahead of time that I feel like usually the mom is contacting me. And if so, I'm hoping that they get this magazine from me and she's like, oh, look at this with her daughter. And they look at it together and they start a positive conversation about how exciting this is and how much fun it's going to be. They go shopping together. They pick out things together that senior really loves. And it starts a whole positive experience from the get-go without me really having to do a lot.
Right. They're doing it and interacting together. Right.
Yes.
Right. But you're giving them the prompt to do that though.
Yes. Setting them up for a successful experience kind of, because I have had in the past, like people show up, a mom and senior are just fighting when they show up. And, the girl wants to wear one thing and the mom's like, oh, no, you're not wearing that. And it's a whole thing. And I just want to avoid that.
Well, it's not a good way to start off.
I'm trying to like nurture a positive experience. And I want them to choose their own outfits. I want them they don't have to buy new clothes. Or like I want them to feel like,
you want them to have their clothes that they like, that they feel comfortable in, that are their clothes. Right. That's interesting.
Yeah. And I think especially in the Midwest, people are really sensitive to like feeling like themselves, not looking overdone.
Yeah, I would agree.
I think it's a little bit more popular in the Midwest to have a little bit more natural or realistic looking daily. Like I look like this on the daily, but maybe a little bit better. Like I look a little bit better than I would normally is kind of the vibe I get from. Yeah. Yeah.
Tell me this then, finish up with this, like, as we kind of have gone through the process. Now, how do you incorporate this mindset into the actual sale? Right? You're sitting down, you're looking through things. How does that look during that part of the process? Kind of the end, sort of.
So I was thinking about this kind of before we started because I was trying to like make a loose outline and I couldn't get my thoughts organized and whatever. So anyway, I kept having this reoccurring thought that the cool images afterwards are kind of the bonus. Like I kind of feel like people hire me for the experience.
Yes.
And then the products and the images that they have afterwards are what they get to remember their photo shoot experience with me.
Right.
Not necessarily to remember, this is what I looked like when I was a senior. Right. Or I really loved the saxophone when I was in high school. Or,
Yeah.
you know, like for mom, it might be something different, but and I'm hoping that her experience on that day was amazing as well.
Right.
Watching her son or daughter go through this experience with me. Mm-hmm. And so for me, even though the images are almost always amazing, I feel like it's a little bit more of an afterthought than the actual experience of the photo shoot and everything itself.
Sure.
I don't know if that makes sense a whole lot, but
well, I like that you said that you also, I haven't heard this very often, I don't think, that you also want the mom, because it's generally the mom that's there, you also want the experience to be a pleasant one for them as they're watching your interaction with their child.
Oh, so many times I will look over my shoulder and the mom is just back there crying. Like, and then I'll be like, there's no crying, you know, like I kind of tease her a little bit.
A little bit of levity.
Yeah, then later she'll text me or something and say like, I just have not seen my daughter feel so confident and so beautiful and so much like an adult, or, you know, like I can tell she feels amazing today, and that makes me feel amazing. So
that's a huge deal. Yeah.
Yeah. And so like very, very seldom I have the mom help with reflector or anything like that, because I just want her to watch. I might ask the mom to take some behind the scenes photos or videos, but then she keeps those on her phone too.
Yeah, those are hers too. Yeah. Yep.
Yeah. And if I give her my phone to do it, then I always give those to them.
Right.
So yeah. So like it's definitely an experience as much as for the senior as for the mom or the parent.
I love it.
I had a session today where mom and dad both came, and sister.
The whole, it was like the family was there.
Yeah.
Now, did you take family pictures while that was happening, or did you reserve that time for the senior? I
didn't even know that the dad and the sister were going to come. So they were just like literally there to have fun and help out. And
I think that's great.
It was a blast. Sometimes I do that where they have a little family session.
As part of it. Yeah.
But the other day was like literally a surprise.
I think it's a great, I love how you're taking something that's important to you. It's also important to me, but you're actually integrating it into part of who you are and what you do, right? Like it does come across as very authentic. It is very authentic. And I think you see the fruits of it on a regular basis when that mama's crying, or when you can tell that the senior feels a way that they don't normally feel, even, or that they're super confident and they normally struggle with that. I think it's a really big deal, and I like how you incorporate it into your business too. I think it's fantastic.
I mean, I like it.
Yeah, it works. Works well for you.
And it's easy. It's so easy to want to get on social media and market these things, because I do feel strongly about it. So then
you're not forcing the social media piece.
Right. And it gives me a lot of words to use. Like I can very easily choose words to put in a caption or as I'm talking. Like it just easily gives me words that I can, without having to think much about it, I can write a really good caption, or I can, talk about the senior experience easier and sell it easier, because it's fun for me and I'm passionate about it.
How nice to not have to force your posts, right?
Yeah. And I think that's the most important thing to me about really deciding what type of photography you like, or what type of subject you like to photograph the most, and then thinking about why that is.
Yeah.
Like I used to think I like photographing seniors because it's like fashion and it's fun and they are willing to do these cool things with me. And then
which is all true. Is all true. But there's
there's a deeper side to that when I realized what that was, then I could really harness those feelings and use that I don't want to say use, because I don't want to sound like I'm like using people's emotions against them.
Well, you're incorporating that, though. You're recognizing that it's there,
Yeah.
that it is a thing, and you're incorporating
Yeah.
it. And I think that's the authenticity piece, right? Because it is, because it's real. You're not having to fabricate anything,
Right.
which I think it's brilliant. Hey, Jaimy, where do people find you? Where do people go to find Jaimy Ellis?
On the interwebs.
On the
Pretty much
interwebs.
everywhere.
You're on the internet?
Yeah, I really love Instagram. So if you really want to follow my work and what I do, Instagram is the best way to do that. And that's just Jaimy Ellis Photog, I think. JaimyEllis.photog on Instagram.
Right.
But I blog every so often. Pinterest is a big one too. I use Pinterest quite a bit.
Well, and Jaimy is Jaimy. Jaimy is Jaimy.
Yes, thank you. It's spelled
That's
weird.
important to know, right? Well, I discovered that.
Jaimy.
Yes.
Ellis as in Sam.
Right. Right. Well, I hope you get flooded with new people wanting to check you out.
Sure, that would be great. I have a lot of photographers that follow me, and I like to kind of interact with them as well. So, yeah, definitely give me a follow, and you're welcome to stalk me if you want.
I will. I'll continue to do that. Hey, thank you for joining me today. I really appreciate your time, and I loved your topic. It was great.
Well, thank you for having me. It was fun chatting.
All right, until we see each other at the next crazy convention.
Yeah, hopefully soon.
Yeah, for sure to that. Have a good one, Jaimy.
You too.
Hey guys, thanks for watching this conversation presented by White House Custom Color on YouTube. Be sure to check out our other content and click that subscribe button right there. Right. Right there. It's there somewhere.